Good morning, guys. Today I want to talk to you about drones. Drones, and specifically why you shouldn't buy one. Firstly, just a quick shout out to my mate Mike, who made the mistake of flying one of my drones when I was in Australia recently. Of course, now he wants to spend all of his money on one. You're welcome, Mike. I'm getting you back for all that cool shit you have in your kitchen that I always end up buying. Anyway, let's talk about these devices. I'll be honest with you, these things are amazing. It adds a whole new dynamic to your video, whatever you're doing, whether it's trip videos to holidays or even out and about in the city that you live in or where you live or whatever. They're great. They're really easy to fly as well. And to give you an idea, when I first flew mine, really in anger, was probably in the Maldives. And I did that typical thing where I didn't really read the manual. I kind of, flew it up the beach and thought it'd be fine. Now, while I was doing this, my phone decided to crash because I happened to be running some beta software. I didn't think about that. And after running up the beach for a little while, trying to wonder where my drone had gone, and wondering whether I'd just dropped £1,000 in the ocean, I was quite relieved to see the thing flying back to base. Now, of course, if you're familiar with drones or you started looking into them, you'll see that most of the drones have that capability now, return to where they take off. I didn't realise that at the time. Perhaps I should have read the manual. Yeah, they are amazing devices, and so they do change how you look at your world and how you perceive it. And of course, if you are into any form of videoing or anything like that, it adds a whole new breadth of capability. I mean, I video most of my trips, for example, but mainly for my own use. But the addition of the drone footage, I think, makes a world of difference. Now, I first ordered a drone it was a Mavic Pro actually, for my safari trip to South Africa last year. So the video from that actually, by the way, was amazing. I'll drop a link to that below. But here's the thing, it turned up on the morning that I was flying out, I think. So I did my usual thing and stuck it in the hall cupboard, went on holiday and completely forgot about it. Now, one of the gifts of this brain is that I got back from safari, didn't give it a second thought. So it was only a few months later when I was kind of rooting around in the hall cupboard and I found an Amazon box with a Mavic Pro in it. The Mavic Pro is an amazing bit of kit. I don't have it to hand actually, but I ended up replacing it with the Air because the Air is so much smaller. You can literally fit it in your jeans pocket if you're a guy. So it's far easier just to keep in your backpack and take anywhere. I haven't really taken the Mavic Pro anywhere. I should probably get rid of that, I'm guessing. Anyway, why shouldn't you buy one of these? Well, the first thing to consider is that you probably can't fly your new drone in those places that you're currently thinking about flying your drone in. To give you an idea, where I grew up, there was a really cool park, and I remember going there and seeing lots of people playing with back then it was always like like remote control planes and little things like that. And I remember thinking, wow, that would be an amazing place to fly. The views would have been astonishing. So off I trot to go and have a look. I did check it out on the internet. There didn't seem to be any restrictions on it. But when I got there, and what's the first thing I see at the entrance? Big sign saying no drones. Bloody irritating. There's also, of course, all the restrictions around the cities. You can't fly over large groups of people quite reasonably. You can't fly close to buildings, certainly buildings you don't own. And there's a whole set of regulations around what you can and can't do. There is something called Drone Safe, which seems to be associated with the CAA. I'll drop a link to that down below if you want to go have a look. But it seems to show all the areas you can and can't fly and all that sort of stuff. Now, depending on where you live, this might be less or more of a problem. Certainly where I live in central London, I've got, sort of city airport up the road. I've got the helicopter channels up over the Thames. There's loads of restrictions around here. I don't particularly have an issue with that, and I kind of expected it because it's central London. What I didn't expect was to go to a lot of parks and instantly see signs saying no drones. You can't fly, for example, in any of the royal parks in London. They've just been blanket banned across there. It does make me wonder why that's the case. And I guess part of it is, my perception is that people don't like drones. I had one incident, Carol or Karen or whatever her name was, complaining to me that she didn't want me spying on her. Well, I'm not being funny, Karen or Carol. You are not interesting to me at all in whatsoever. I was playing with my drone. I was getting some cool shots around the park. I didn't even notice you were there. So yeah, people don't like them. So where are you going to fly? So bear that in mind before you check them out and go and spend, you know, £1,000 plus on one of these devices. I mean, they are effectively toys, but they're quite expensive toys. Now, there are other things to consider as well. I mean, what are you going to do with the footage? If you earn money, or if you use these things commercially, well, you need a commercial license. And that's, well, it's not difficult to get, but it certainly involves effort. You have to go on a training course, you have to apply for a drone license of some sort, and from what I can see, they're kind of £1,000 plus, these courses, and then of course you've got the annual license renewal. Now, there's a question of when you need these licenses. Do you need them for YouTube? Well, I don't monetize my channel, so I'm not in a commercial scenario for that, so I don't mind publishing my stuff. But here's the thing, if you monetize your channel, then isn't it arguable that you're doing that commercially? Now, I've seen a lot of discussion that there's been some agreement that that sort of footage is kind of secondary, so it's not really considered a commercial purpose. But the lack of clarity on that makes me a little bit nervous. I can't seem to find anything on the drone safe sites about it, for example. If anybody's any real opinion on that, I'd love to hear about it. I mean, what other things have you got to consider around this? Well, let's face it, if you're going to fly these things properly and get some great footage, eventually you're going to crash one. That was my view anyway. And if you crash them, could be expensive. I mean, this is what, £800-900, I think. Now DJI do some insurance, so I've got insurance on mine, but I noticed in some of the TNCs that you have to be able to return the damaged fuselage to get a potential replacement. Here's the thing, if I'm flying out of the ocean or over a river or somewhere that's relatively inaccessible to me, so I can view these things, because bear in mind, if somewhere is accessible you can go see them anyway, what's the chances of me getting that fuselage back to be able to send it back to the insurers to get it replaced? Who knows? I'd be interested to hear if anyone's managed to do that with DJI and seen how far they've got. But that situation with the regulatory stuff, well, that's only going to get worse, isn't it? More and more people are going to get these devices. You're going to get people doing stupid things, which of course then there's going to be massive outrage about, and the regulation's going to get worse. I understand that there is going to be some kind of registration scheme coming up, for example, which, you know, I don't have an issue with. I don't mind registering my drone. I've got no qualms about it. But stuff like that tends to lead on to more regulation. So you could end up with a situation where you're buying something that you end up hardly being able to use. And I'll be honest and say, I don't really use mine very much. And there's also that slippery slope which says you buy into a particular technical hobby or into some hobby, and all of a sudden it's one long slippery slope of, I'll just buy one more thing. And I can be a bit of a nightmare at that. For example, I bought my Mavic Pro, decided it was a little bit big to be lugging around, board and air. I then decide that, you know, I want some filters, for example, so I end up buying filters, and then you end up buying more batteries. It's one long slippery slope. And this morning I've been browsing the Mavic Air 2s. Do I need them? No. But then I'm brilliant at converting want to need in my own head. If I was to summarize this, these are great devices and they're great toys, but just be aware that you probably can't do with them what you're expecting to do, certainly in the areas that you're going to be in. So make sure you check that out first and make sure you understand what you can and cannot do, because I suspect that'll make an awful lot of difference to your choice as to whether to invest in one of these things or not. I'm quite new to the droning game, flying drones, so it could be that other people have far better and far more informed opinions than I do, so I'd love to hear about them. But from what I've seen, yeah, the situation's only going to get worse. It's not going to get better. Anyway, I'm going to try and put some more of my travel videos up. A lot of them have some drone content in there. If you want to see some of that stuff and kind of the things that I've managed to produce, then hit subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. If not, come and check my channel out, and I'll pretty soon have some of that video content up for you, so you can all have a look at it and see what I'm talking about. So I'm going to sign off for this vlog. I'm sure I've got some more coming next week. I'm trying to catch up on some ideas. I also, of course, said I'll make a point of trying to do these properly, which I haven't done. I've been clearing down my channel of the odd bit of rubbish that needed clearing down. And one of the things that surprises me is how many views certain silly little things get. But yeah, I'll talk about that in a different setup. Good night, guys. Have a great weekend.